Guys, welcome back to some more AFK Arena. Today we're back over on the YouTube account and we're going to be looking at Shalltear and all the dimensional heroes. Now, if you're unfamiliar, it is the new hero who is going to be available in the dimensional exchange. However, if you're free to play, it's going to be probably a little less than 50 days at this point to actually get the new heroes. You can try them out, you can link them, but overall it is going to be a little bit of time before you get them. Of course, you can buy them at a very heavily discounted price, which is cool. You also do get the bountiful trials, so make sure when you're coming in here, you're completing all 3 of the bountiful trials for these heroes. It essentially is going to give you stones and some resources. Those stones can be celestials and hippos. Unfortunately, they cannot be dimensional heroes. But a lot of players were kind of questioning, are you able to save for all of these heroes? In my opinion, the answer to that would be yes. Now, I want to really explain why. When you look at the dimensional exchange, and you'll actually have an exchange button, I believe, up here, you can go ahead, you can save your resources, you can do the exchange. Now, my first priority would be Shalltear. This is the #1 hero that you need to do the exchange for. And again, we're going to cover exactly why. So when it comes to Shalltear, she is going to be here. She's going to be available for the exchange. Exchange for this hero first. Now, the reason being, if you still have resources, let's say, for instance, you can exchange for Shalltear, you exchange for Albedo, you fall a little bit short for Ainz, you can actually go into the Garrison itself and you can get Ainz and you can get Albedo out of the Garrison, which can be seen here. These are exchanged to the dimensional stones. So even if by chance you do not get the ability or you do not have enough resources to actually get the heroes, you can go ahead and you can get them with the dimensional stones within the Garrison. These are the updated heroes. Now, again, a lot of comments that I got was kind of crazy. When it comes to Ainz and Albedo, both of the heroes were updated and are updated. Now, unfortunately, though, at this point, looking at the buff that Ainz got a little bit stronger when it came to a couple casting, a couple different like damage multiplication factors. But overall, when it comes to the hero itself, we are not seeing Ainz or Albedo or Shalltear at this point used within AFK Arena. I went through everything that we had, even in the Arena of Heroes over here, went through the Treasure Scramble, until you get to many teams is the only place that we're seeing actually Shalltear being used. But overall, when we start looking through all of the whale formations, which of course have the heroes built in their entirety, even here looking at 4 teams, they are not used at all in formations that we're seeing right now. Now, I know that AFK guys did have a guide. Shalltear was in there in a couple different places. So I feel like once we do get to multiple teams, talking 5, 6, 7 teams, there may be a need and there may really be a place for Shalltear to use at that point. But overall, right now, even looking at 4 teams, the hero is not being used. And you'll also notice that Albedo and Ainz are not prevalent within any of these formations either. Even when we go through the Cursed Realm, when we go through the Nightmare Corridor, they are not being used in formations either, which unfortunately is a little bit sad. I know this is, of course, things can change and things can change. Even Zora is now being used right there. But the big thing to remember, a couple of really side notes, is when it comes to these game modes, specifically looking at the Cursed Realm and the Nightmare Corridor, this iteration and these battle formations change every single week. So just because Shalltear isn't being used right now doesn't mean that she's going to be used in the future. And I always resort to, if you remember Queen, a lot of players didn't want to get Queen initially. After about 5 or 6 months of Queen being released, when we had the Persona 5 Joker and Queen crossover, Queen was absolutely prevalent and used in best in slot formations. Queen found a place months after the release of the hero itself. And after those couple months, unfortunately, you couldn't get the hero at that point. So if you had Queen or didn't have Queen, it was incredibly difficult. But she was best in slot for about 2 years within 5-pole formations within a couple different places. So just because the heroes don't have a utility today doesn't mean the hero is not going to have any utility in the future. But even when we look through formations, looking at Blossom there, we do have Scarlet, we have Randy in there, we do have Vika. This, of course, is the weird formation because we do have the original version of Baden in there. We have the Awakened Thane and the Awakened Athalia. But again, looking and thinking of the heroes, Ainz, Albedo, and Shalltear are not being used anywhere at all as we're seeing it today. So I don't know exactly the reason. Now, when we start looking into more, again, heavier PvP like the LC Championship, this is where we're starting to see Shalltear and we're starting to see Albedo. Even looking here in Kilbyross, you can see right here, there is Shalltear, there is Zora. So this combination is being used in a couple different places. Now, again, you'll notice in here, I don't see Ainz. And I feel like overall with the power creep, with the build of the heroes themselves, even looking at 11 teams, Ainz is not being utilized in here, and I do not believe I see Albedo within these formations either. I went through a couple different places, even looking at Woody 2. You can see right here, Garrison and Shalltear is one that I've seen run quite a bit. If they are running Shalltear. Now, also Skyland is being used in here, but overall, thinking of Ainz, thinking of a couple other heroes, doesn't seem like they are super prevalent. It's almost as if when they buffed up Ainz and Albedo, they didn't buff them high enough to really accommodate with a lot of the power creep that we've seen. Overall, I do have them built out a little bit. So if the utility is there, these are heroes, of course, that we've had for years. Now, the question was also brought up that if you're getting from the Garrison and then you get them with the resource change. So the big thing is, if you go in here and you exchange the resources for the heroes, that means you no longer have to rent them out of the Garrison. Now, also remember with the Garrison specifically, if you rent the heroes 6 times, they are yours. The only caveat to that is after you rent the heroes 6 times, you still have to go in here once a month and you have to re-rent the heroes. I hope there's going to be a point where once you hit 6, you just essentially get the hero. You don't have to go in here and keep re-renting the hero. I know on the test server that was an absolute pain in the butt, but you had to go in here once every 30 days and re-rent the hero, which again, once you do it 6 times, it is free to get the hero, but overall, it is kind of a pain to go ahead and build it. Now, I also want to look at AFK Arena over on the Facebook page. They did share what heroes that are used for, and I don't understand why. And I want to show you this because it's kind of questionable on why exactly they did it and why they did it this way. So this is the guide or help that they put for Ainz. And you'll notice right here, dramatically increases damage output, actively and continuously casting effects. Now, counter 2, let's look at this list right here, guys. So we have Estrilda, we have Titus, we have Gorvo, and we have the original version of Shmira, which means out of a counter 2, none of these heroes are used, which are horrible. Best teammate, now looking in here, Albedo possibly could be one definitely used. But looking in here, we have right here King Arthur, we have Brutus, and we have Ezio, again, not being used. So out of the counter 2 and the best teammates, we have Albedo, which is a possibility. Everybody else in here is not used in any formations, any meta formations, whatever it may be. And I'm not even 100% sure how they're a counter 2. I'm short of the crowd control. Out of 160 heroes in AFK Arena, I don't understand the counter logic. The recommended collection, yes, this is absolutely going to be Odin's collection. Attack Magic Pierce makes sense. Backline, definitely now exclusive item. Now, this is the signature item, so I don't know if you build it up to a 40 signature item, if it's really going to make a big difference. And honestly, what a lot of players have done is they have built up Ainz with the anticipation of having this hero and using this hero, realizing that, of course, the hero isn't being used anywhere, and they're looking to engrave the hero after they just re-engrave the hero a second time. And then, of course, the furniture is in here as well. It shows the skill priority, but overall, again, it doesn't seem like the hero is going to be strong enough to make a big difference. I mean, when you think of damage-wise, he's not even sitting at the same level or higher than like an awakened version of Belinda. With the skills and abilities he possesses, he should be an absolute monster like the first time that we did see them. Then, of course, they also have the tier page for Shalltear. And overall, looking at this, it is the same thing, which is kind of weird because counter 2, Ainz, not used, not used, not used. A Belinda every now and then, but used really in maybe a PvP formation, could be a place being used. Best teammates, we have Tamaris, not really. We have Rosaline, and then, of course, we have Alero. So pretty interesting to see Lavatoon still being used. So out of, again, these 8 heroes, we have 2 of these 8 that are actually being used. And depending where they're being used, you'll notice that crit damage amplification. So they are relying on her to be a very big damage dealer. Most of the time, she isn't putting out a lot of damage, but she does have the ability because of her resurrection or the ability to cheat death, makes a big difference. So recommended frontline, exclusive item on here again. Now, when it comes to building out these exclusive items, it is super expensive. And of course, if you want the survivability, if you want the damage of any of the heroes, the higher you build up the exclusive item, the furniture, the engraving, the better they're going to perform, the stronger they're going to be. But overall, like I said, it's still a little bit early to see exactly where and if they're going to be used. But overall, I would pick Shalltear would be the number one that I would definitely choose out of here before we look at any other heroes. Even looking at, again, Ainz, Albedo, and looking at Shalltear. Shalltear would be the priority one that you're looking to buy. All right, guys, that's going to do it for today's video. Let me know in the comments what you guys think. And as always, thank you guys for watching.